I'll be 45. I'm close to 45, man.
That's all right. They'll take care of you.
Check, mic, check, mic, check. Hello there.
I'm sorry, Mr. Rollins, how you doing?
Mic, check.
In all honesty, it probably doesn't need to be charged, but just in case. 9, speak that into the universe. I'm sorry. Okay, now that.
meeting of the Southampton County School Board. We have all 9 of our school board members present, so we definitely have a quorum. The agenda was in your school board package. Is there a board member who needs to add an item to the agenda tonight? Then if there's not a board member who needs to add an item, then the agenda stands approved as presented. The minutes of our previous meetings were included in your board package. You saw the minutes from our regular meeting in May, our May meeting, but we also had 2 call meetings in May. On May 20th, we had a special meeting, but that was a closed session meeting to address superintendent's evaluation, so there are no minutes from that meeting. And then we had a special meeting on May 28th, and that was the meeting with the Board of Supervisors to tour the schools. So you do have 2 sets of minutes in your, no, you have 3 sets of minutes. Yeah, you have 3 sets of minutes from in your packet. The regular meeting, which was May the 13th, the special meeting that had to do with the superintendent evaluation, which was a closed session meeting, and then the minutes from the May 28th special meeting. Are there any corrections to those 3 sets of minutes? So if there are no corrections, then the minutes are approved as distributed.
Dr. Goodwin, I do think there's one correction to be made. It's on page 2 of the May 13th regular meeting minutes, and it's the vote on special education annual plan. It's listed as an 8-2 roll call vote. I think it was just an 8-1. We only have 9 members.
Okay. So there is one correction then to the minutes of May 13th. Are there any other corrections? So then do we have a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
I move that we approve the minutes from the regular meeting on May 13th with the correction and the both special call meetings.
Have a motion by Dr. Kendall. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Lane. Any discussion on the motion? Then the minutes from those 3 meetings have been approved. We do not have any recognitions tonight, so we're now down to the public comment period. Although Virginia law does not require us to hold the public comment period, the Southampton County School Board chooses to do so because we believe it's important for us to hear from our community members. We value public participation. We recognize the importance of receiving public input on issues affecting the education of children in our county. The public comment period is the time for citizens and residents to express their views in order to inform the board. Therefore, please do not expect board members to respond to comment or to answer questions during the public comment period. Persons who speak before the board do have to follow some guidelines. One is that they need to sign in prior to the start of the meeting. 2 is that each speaker has a 3-minute time limit to talk. We do have a visible timer so that speakers can keep up with the time they have left. Speakers should address their comments to the board, not to the superintendent or other audience members. And we also ask the audience members refrain from comments and demonstrations such as booing, hissing, or clapping. So I'll call up speakers in the order in which they signed up. So the one speaker, Ms. Mandy Hall. matters from previous meetings. And the first item is the school tour with the Board of Supervisors. If you remember, on May the 28th, the several members of the Board of Supervisors joined several members of the board for a tour of the Career Technical Center, the middle school, and the high school. During that meeting, Mr. Gillette indicated he wanted information, or he wanted to know more about the role of school counselors in K-12 education. So I did prepare for Mr. Gillette and other members of the board a document that's included, and I copied for him what the Code of Virginia says about school counselors, what the Virginia Department of Education says about counseling programs, and what the American School Council Association says about school counselors. So I wanted you to have the information that I shared with Mr. Gillette and the other members of the Board of Supervisors to address a concern that Mr. Gillette had about school counselors. But there were other members of the board present for that meeting. Any other comments from other board members about that meeting? Okay. Then item B, if you remember, at our meeting in May, we agreed that we would have a special meeting on June the 13th. And the purpose of that special meeting was for the board to receive training from the Virginia School Boards Association on the roles, responsibilities, and evaluation of the superintendent. So item B should say roles, responsibilities. No, A and B go together. It's C that I'm talking about now. The June 13th special meeting that we agreed to last month. And that's the meeting that we agreed to, a special meeting, and we're gonna receive training from the Virginia School Boards Association regarding the roles, responsibilities, and evaluation of the superintendent. The meeting will take place from 10 to 2. We're gonna meet here in the school library. But this is the date that we picked, it's the date we agreed to, and the expectation is that we will all be there for that training. Any comments that you remember?
So Dr. Goodwin, as I informed you, I've got an obligation at work that will prevent me from being there. The governor will be touring our facility and signing some bills, and so I will not be attending.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rogers. So other than Mr. Rogers, the rest of us should be there. It's from 10 to 2. We're meeting in the library here at the high school. So now we are down to item D, which is the Crabtree and Robot Architects of Health concerning the Health Resources Building in the Parent Center. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, actually the architect is at another school board meeting right now, and it just went to closed session. So as soon as he finishes there, and this is pretty local, he's going to head his way, so hopefully he will arrive and work on the meetings.
Okay. So whenever the architect gets here, he'll give us an update on what's going on with those two projects. So we're now down to action items. So we're down to the financial report and payment of bills. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, Ms. Joy Carter is going to come forward and talk about the financial report and payment of bills. I will say though that we received a significant budget cut from the, not only was our request not granted, but we were underfunded based upon prior years. And Ms. Carr is going to elaborate on that a little bit.
Okay, good evening all. First, we'll go over the monthly financial report. So if I could bring your attention to the preliminary expenditure report for the month of May, you'll see our revised budget is $35,975,563.98. Expenditures through May 31st total $27,451,919.87, and this leaves us a balance of $8,523,644.11. Please note that as of the date of this report, 76.31% has been expended from the operating budget. Also, the May bill list has been attached to the agenda for the board's approval. Are there any questions on the bills?
Any questions for Ms. Carr about bills? Do we have a motion concerning bills? We have a motion by Mr. Smith.
Second.
A second by Ms. Lane to pay the bills as presented. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Concerning the budget, Mr. Smith and Ms. Brown and Ms. Bond and Mr. Smith are the board representatives on the budget committee. So after Ms. Carr gives us her presentation, then we'll have members of that committee to give us some comments about what's going on with the budget.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So, just to revisit, on April the 10th, we presented your approved budget to the Southampton County Board of Supervisors. And in order to balance the budget, we needed an increase of $2,147,625 in local funds. At the May school board meeting, we reported that the Board of Supervisors not only denied our request for an increase, but recommended to cut our local funding $596,928 for low-level funding. Since then, the Board of Supervisors recommended and approved on June the 4th an additional cut of $457,955. The additional cut was originally advertised as $633,000, but the Board of Supervisors agreed to add back $175,045 in local funds in order to meet the minimum required local match to receive all of our projected state funds. So what you have been given tonight in the front of your budget book is a list of all the possible cuts totaling $3,202,508. And this includes the $2,147,625 that we discussed last month, plus the $1,054,883 in additional funding cuts below level funding. So this list has been reviewed and discussed with the Budget Committee. This scenario, as we mentioned last month, cuts 5 vacant instructional positions, plus all the additional positions requested as part of your approved budget, with the exception of the reading specialist at Southampton Middle School that was added and approved as a state initiative. Salary increases would be cut to 3% across the board in this scenario, with the exception of the career steps on the teacher scale. The budget book that you have been given tonight incorporates the cuts that have been proposed for the FY25 fiscal year. You have also been given a proposed teacher scale based on the 3% salary increase. Please note that a beginning teacher's salary needs to be recommended and approved as well. So at this time, we are requesting your approval of the final budget with reductions and the teacher pay scale, along with a recommended beginning teacher salary.
Thank you. So, we need to talk about this before we take any action. But thank you for that information. So Dr. Shannon, you have comments, and then we'll hear from Mr. Smith and Ms. Clark.
I will say that, initially we were seeking a 5% pay increase for our teachers. And one of the issues that we have is trying to keep up with the local school divisions or surrounding school divisions when it comes to pay. And we not only are not able to give the 5% pay increase, but we are now only able to give the 3% and that we are able to provide quality, special education services, as well as, continue to provide reading services, and some of the other things that we do, like dual enrollment, dual credit, and, just other things. Because looking at some of what we've done in the past, and then considering things now, it is possible that things such as dual enrollment, dual credit may have to go to a, sliding scale. We may not be able to afford to pay for all of the dual enrollment, dual credit, or 50% for all of our kids. So anyway, yeah, we just really want the board of supervisors to reconsider their funding.
Ms. Bud, Mr. Smith, anything to add?
Yes, I would like to add to what the superintendent has stated. This cut that we've experienced this year is the worst that I've seen since I've been on the board. It appears that the governing body appropriated money not even to the composite index, the amount that the state says they are capable of doing. And it took the finance person for the board of supervisors to bring them to the attention that what they were doing violated state law. And they put themselves in a situation where we would not be able to have the money helped to us from the state, because you have to appropriate a certain amount. Now, the cuts that we have and have to make in order to make this thing work puts us in a very, very desperate situation. Teacher ratio, pupil to teacher, the catering, which is a 70-year-old school, we can do nothing. So much for trying to step up the standards of learning in the SOLs, so much for the academic gap that we are trying to close, so much for teacher retention, so much for dual enrollment, so much for a cadet corps, any kind of new initiatives. We don't have money. So much for the 4x4 block program at the middle school. You would need money in order to do those kinds of new and innovative things. But we do not have the money. We are unable to hire for that. Now, in any county, or any municipality, school boards generally can take in about 65% of the governing body budget. And that's regardless of the size of the county. Our school division, which is roughly 2,500 students, with 5,000 parents and grandparents, 3,000 aunts, uncles, and cousins. That's the biggest thing that the Board of Supervisors is fund this school system. If you don't have a good school system, you can't recruit companies to come and bring their companies here. We have to have a change. There's no way we can produce an excellent school division with the funding. You have to have so many English teachers at your high school in order to take care of the students. You have to have so many janitors working the halls to keep your buildings clean. You have to have so many bus drivers. All of those are fixed costs, and this operation of the school division is a very labor-intensive program. And we are just not getting the money to make this thing work.
I would certainly agree with the superintendent's thoughts as well as Mr. Smith's thoughts. And I also, Mr. Smith said he's never seen this in all the time he's been on the board. I haven't either. We actually reached a point, several years back that we got to just level funding, which level funding, in essence, is a cut. when fuel prices are going up and we need to give raises to staff in order to stay competitive, level funding at the end of the day is actually a cut. So now we've gone beyond the level funding cut to now an extra $1 million on top of that. And it disheartens me, and I sit back and I wonder, what are the priorities of our county? What does that say about our county as a whole, that public education and educating our students for the future, we're educating the workforce. How are we ever going to bring businesses here when businesses look at our area and say, gosh, public education isn't important to them because we're going to cut public education? In this day and time, when we can't recruit teachers because our pay scale is already behind, so we're behind the 8 ball to begin with, and now we're going to go further in the hole. What does that say? What does it do to the quality of the education? At some point, you have to understand this affects the education. When your class sizes go up, when your teachers are not happy because they know that they can make more money somewhere else, how do you expect this to not, at the end of the day, affect the quality of the education that the students in our county are getting? And my question is, at what point is that still acceptable to keep diminishing that over and over and over again? We've got our children, our grandchildren that we want to educate in this county. We want them to have a good education. But our hands are being tied, and it's like every time we try and do something, there's some political motivation behind it, I guess. I'm not sure, but the only people it's hurting at the end of the day are the students.
Other comments from board members?
The board of supervisors does public comment, like, have we planned on going to them and asking them to reconsider? Will we do that in the meeting, or is that something that's going?
Hey, Dr. Tindall, if you use your microphone, the people at home don't know what we're saying.
My question was, have we planned on going to the Board of Supervisors to talk to them in one of their meetings, or is that something that's done, through email or phone calls from central office to their members, like to ask them to reconsider?
Well, I think two things. One, I think that the Board of Supervisors already approved this round budget. So talking to them at this point would be a moot. And do I think we need to go talk to them? My personal opinion is no. I think that we presented a needs-based budget. We were willing and we were there to talk about the needs of the school district, and we presented a budget. But I don't think we should be put in the position of having to go say, would you please give us the money to educate the children of Southampton County? I think that, as Ms. Bunn said, the Board of Supervisors needs to look at its priorities and decide what's important. What are the priorities of that board? And I'm not sure that I was going, but if you think we should do, I guess I'm rambling, but if you think there's something we should do this, Dr. Tindall, by all means, that's something we can try, and if you want to head that up, we can certainly go in that direction.
Okay.
But my thinking,
So if they've approved their final budget, do they have the option of going back and?
I have no idea about
We're
that.
not sure. Okay.
But I thought they had a special meeting last week to approve the county budget.
Okay. My other question is, how often do representatives of the board meet with representatives of the Board of Supervisors throughout the year?
We do not meet with them because the school board is a separate entity.
Right.
That we do not meet with them regularly. Because what would we meet with them about? They're free to come to our meetings, they're free to engage in conversation, but no, we have not scheduled any regular meetings with the Board of Supervisors.
I would like to suggest that we set up like a 2x2 meeting, because certainly we can't have any more members of their board or ours. Even if we do it quarterly, just to kind of keep keep them up to date, I guess. I mean, I know that they can come to our meetings and, you know, we can go to theirs and that we are different entities, but I think if during this next year, we make the effort to say, hey, we really want you all to be included in this. We would like to be able to update you on things that are going on, or that maybe then they would understand a little bit more what the actual needs are of the school division if we're being more proactive in keeping them up to date. Again, I realize that they can come to ours, but if we're the ones going to them asking for something, maybe.
Actually, it's the citizens of Southampton County going to them asking for them to support public education
Right.
in Southampton County. We simply prepare needs-based budgets, so it's not.
But as the representatives of all of the people in the county, you know, it's.
Yeah, and it might be good to have members of the county in your community to go talk to them also.
Right.
To talk about the need to support public education.
True, I agree.
That might be another way to look at it.
Yeah, I would just like to see us be as proactive as possible, because if we ask and they say, no, we don't wanna meet with you, okay, then we tried, and, you know, we're putting ourselves out there.
Any additional comments?
How's it going?
Yes,
Like comments, quick comments.
I can't hear you, Ms. Blank.
Just like to make a quick comment. Mr. Smith, Ms. Norman, here's some very important information. I go to Board of Supervisors meeting every month. I saw not one parent from this county complain about the board's decision not to give the required amount of money to satisfy our board. Now, every person in this county is a parent, I'm thinking. If they're 18 and above, they should be a parent. But you should go to your Board of Supervisors meeting and tell the Board of Supervisors, I have a child in school that needs funds to be adequately educated. And that is not what is going on in this county. Now, my children are grown. I can't go up there and say, a speaker that I have a child in school. I can't do that. But as you have a child, you want your child to be adequately educated, go to the Board of Supervisors meeting and start complaining. If you don't complain, nothing's gonna be done. That's all I have to say.
Any other comments? I know there's one fly in here so if you see us waving, there's one fly here, that everybody keeps waving at. So thank you for your comments. It is a deep budget cut. And I think that about all we can do at this point is to prepare parents for larger class sizes and to prepare teachers for larger class sizes in the fall. That I think now, we're going to have to increase class size. I think that, in the worst case scenario, we might have to start cutting programs. But that's going to be the reality for the 24-25 school year, because when you think about it, you can't cut fuel costs. The fuel costs come in above what's here. You gotta pay fuel costs. You gotta pay water and sewer. There's some things you have to pay. So if these things go over, then I think we do have to perhaps prepare for having to make some deeper cuts into some other programs to make sure that we balance the budget.
Dr. Goodwin, I just want to say thanks to Ms. Bunn and Mr. Smith, first of all, for trying to deal with this. It's an absurd amount of cut to have to walk through in any year, let alone a year when the division is trying to make up for losses that have happened in previous years. It's really disappointing, honestly, to look at how we'll carve out so many positions that are needed and the impact it's going to have on the kids. So I would like to make at least one recommendation, and that is that a full summary of the impact on class sizes, special education caseloads, and other major negative impacts that these budget cuts are going to result in be summarized, sent to the Board of Supervisors, and also published on our district website as a clear communication as to what the impact of funding cuts are. of supervisors, whether they are willing to listen to that or not. I think it's an opportunity for us to speak on behalf of those individuals that we represent in our county and the needs of the school system to help Dr. Shannon just quite frankly figure out how she's going to make do with the funding that we have available to us. So those are recommendations I'd like to present to the board's consideration.
Thank you. Any additional comments? So then we do need a vote then to approve the amended budget that you have in front of you. And this is the budget that includes the cuts that you see here, so that our budget aligns with the amount that has been allocated to the school system by the board of supervisors. Do we have such a motion?
I have a question for
Yes.
I know that one of the cuts on there is the special education teacher at Nottoway. And I know that Dr. Taylor's here, I'm not sure if she can answer this question, sorry for putting you on the spot, about what that does to caseload sizes.
Well, Dr. Shannon can probably give you a general idea of what that's going to do.
Right, but I mean, currently, are we within the state guidelines for
That's something I would want to disclose publicly, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah, I would want to say that. So we can talk about that later on in closed session.
So we do need to, have a motion to approve the amount here, and this is the amount that the Board of Supervisors has allocated for Southampton County Public Schools for fiscal year 25.
Does approving this amount, is that the same as approving these cuts? Is that all included in one?
Yeah. Because this is just showing you how they got to the number. But yeah, these would be the cuts, but this is the amount.
Can I understand? So did they specify all of these line item cuts, or is some of this also our work to say this is the amount that we got, so these are the places where we have to take it? I just want to
This is our work to get to the cut.
This is our work to get to that cut that you guys have, that you all have worked with Dr. Shannon on. Thank you.
Is this the last cut, or the last $400-some thousand that they asked for coming back? Is this included?
Yes.
In the past, the Board of Supervisors have given us the sense that they can deal with emergencies. If our roof all of a sudden created cracks, they can deal with emergencies. They have the money. They'll have the money this year.
But
As a rule, we've never gone back to the Board of Supervisors mid-year to ask for additional funding. We've always made our budget work within our budget. But to Mr. Smith's point, I think we're at the dangerous level now where, I won't use the Bruce as an example, but for instance, if we had something that was, something that caused out of the blue a, $700,000 catastrophe to a school, we can't absorb that. We've got to where we can't absorb these $200,000 or $300,000 hits as they keep coming. So at some point, we may have to then go back mid-year and say, okay, we don't have any other place to take this from, and now we have this that has to be dealt with. But again, we've tried in the past, we've never gone back mid-year.
and it's unlikely we'll go back this year. So that's highly unlikely. I think that these are the dollars we're gonna be dealing with, and that whatever we have to do to make these dollars work is what we will do. So the likelihood that we're gonna go back to the Board of Supervisors, no, please, sir, give us $2 more, is not likely to happen. So what in all probability will happen is these are the dollars we'll have, and we'll provide the services possible within the money that's been allocated. So that's what we're voting on tonight, because we can't guarantee that if you went back and asked for $2 more, they would say yes. You ask before we presented it, and they said no, so I can't see us going back.
When your school board is your largest employer in the county, and you cut your school board, you are cutting your own economy. These are teachers that go to food line and shop. Whenever we have a plumbing issue, we go to Edwards Hardware and buy products. So, you know, it's just counterproductive, old fashioned, how this thing is getting defunded.
And just to add to it, Mr. Smith, you all stated this is the largest cut you have, Mr. Smith, you've been on the board for over 30 years. Largest cut you've seen in your time. Unbelievable.
And again, I just have to ask what it says about the priorities of our county. And at the end of the day, who's gonna stand up for the priority of the children in this county and the priority of public education?
I'd like to add, it's about our children first, but it's about our county. If our children are not educated properly, then our whole county will decline. Over time, we won't be the intelligent people that we are today if we don't educate our children properly. And so the entire county will be impacted. If we, and as someone said, parents need to speak up. We can say whatever we want to say, and they'll look at data and they'll say, okay, well, I think we can do without it. Well, if parents say we can't, if enough parents say we cannot, they will listen. Now, I'm not saying they'll make a change, but they listen to the community more than they listen to governing bodies, apparently. So we could just get our parents to rally behind this and say, enough. You cannot cut funding from education anymore.
And you're right, these children you gotta remember that these are our tax-paying citizens. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, this is our workforce. This is who's going to pay the taxes within the county to keep the county going. So yes, we want an educated workforce coming out that's gonna be able to handle that and move the county forward.
So we're back to needing action on the amount that's been allocated by the Board of Supervisors for Southampton County Public Schools for fiscal year 25. So do we have such a motion?
Dr. Lewin, I think everybody's saying silently, we don't want to give into this. No one wants to say that, yes, we agree to this because.
I think I'll make the motion, because what the motion actually is it's not us saying we're okay with the cut. It's us saying we've been cut, these are the reductions that need to happen in order to balance the budget at this point. So I'll make a motion that we move forward with the cuts that we have to in order to make the money that we've been allocated work. That's my motion.
We have a motion by Ms. Bond.
Second.
We have a second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion on the motion? So all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay, so we need to do a roll call vote. You ready? So, Mr. Rogers,
No.
Ms. Lane,
No.
Ms. Roundtree? Who's that?
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Goodwin is yes. Ms. Hobbs?
Did you come back?
No. Scott?
Yes.
So now we're back again.
I'm going to say yes.
So how many yeses do we have? So we have 7 yeses, so 2 noes. No, we had 3 noes. So that's 6 yeses, 3 noes. So the amended budget is Lane,
Like, you would know? Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Thank you.
Rogers, Lane, and Tyndall for no.
All right, thank you.
So we have 6 yes, 3 no. So we have approved the budget, and we see the possible cuts there.
In the words of Frederick Douglass, it's easier to build strong children than it is to fix broken adults.
What's their name?
That's what I-
Yes, thank you, and we do need also a recommendation for the beginning teacher's salary.
So we are proposing that the beginning, I think that what are you recommending, Shannon? Because before we had talked about a 3% increase in the beginning teacher salary, correct? So are you recommending that we not increase the 3%?
No, we want to go with the.
Well, the 3% would put step 1 and 0 at the same. So I had originally recommended 47,000 to keep a differential between, or we can go, you know, like I said, whatever your desire is. But usually there's a differential between the steps. So we're currently at 45,900.
Right, so I guess what I'm asking is what is 3% of 45,900?
That's the 47,277, which is on step 1.
It would make step 0 the exact same as step 1 if we took that action.
Right, usually we fall back a little bit, you know,
I don't see how that's, if step 1 is 46,589, and 3% of that gets us at 47, how can 3% of 45 be the same thing as 3% of 46?
well, the percentage increase is moving from one step to the next. So the 3% increase is not actually, it's 3% moving from step 0 to step 1. So the percentage increase is what you get when you move from one step to the next.
So we're not, it's not a step increase, it's the 3%.
Right, right, it's a 3% raise, and at the career step levels, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30, or the percentages are a tad bit higher for the career steps. But the percentages represent what the teachers receive moving from one year to the next. So normally, we adjust the beginning teacher salary, just, you know, we will adjust that based on step 1. For instance, if you wanted to, you know, put it at 46.5, or, you know, or 46.9, or I guess, you know, if you put it at 47,000, you're only $277 away from a first-year teacher. So,
So I guess we're waiting for you to give us a recommendation.
I think she did, I think she said it was 47.
47 was what I recommended. Just usually we try to, you know, get it up as high as we can for recruiting purposes. So 47 looks better than 46.9.
I make a motion for 47.
Second.
So we had a motion by Ms. Bond, what did the second?
47.
A second by Dr. Tyndall. And Dr. Shem, what was your opinion?
I did agree, I was just doing the math. I didn't have a sheet at first, you asked me, but I have it now. And I certainly agree. Of course, we wish we could do more, but I mean, it is what it is. Yes.
Okay, so then the starting salary would be 47. Okay.
And that's competitive with other divisions.
Say it again, Ms.
Is that competitive with other divisions?
So with Franklin's first year salary for next year is
had a motion by Ms. Bond and second by Dr. Kendall that the proposed beginning teacher salary will be $47,000 for fiscal year 25. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Then the ayes have it. So beginning teacher salary will be $47,000 for fiscal year 25.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. So we are down to the renewal of insurance carrier, Dr. Shannon.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Mel is going to come forward and talk about items C and D. We're currently with Versa, and, we utilize Mr. Sam Rosenthal as, our consultant, and so Mr. Mel will give you details about that.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Goodwin, Mr. Smith, Board, Dr. Shannon, yes, in front of you, you do have a renewal proposal from Versa, our current insurance carrier. Our premium would increase by 5% this year. As Dr. Shannon said, working with our consultant, Mr. Rosenthal, he still says that we are in good shape compared to our neighbors, both in premiums and as an increase. So I do recommend, and he recommends as well, that we do sign our renewal for this year. And if we so choose to start the open for bidding process in December of 2024 for fiscal year 25-26.
So we're saying then that the premium for the 24-25 school year will be $249,587. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we'll worry about next year later. Okay. So any questions for Mr. Melby about that proposal that we have from the Virginia Risk Sharing Association? And you see that this covers our buildings, vehicles, cyber, and I guess all that's listed in the information you have. The automobile liability, physical damage, property, line of duty. Any questions?
You want a motion?
Yes, we do.
The proposed.
So it's been moved by Ms. Bond. Do we have a second? Second. A second by Ms. Hobbs to accept the renewal recommendation that Virginia Risk Sharing Association will be the carrier for fiscal year 24-25. Any discussion on the motion?
I'd just like to make a note, Madam Chair, that that's a 4.96% increase just to keep the doors open, buildings insured, and all of our property protected.
So just
Just
note
making
that
sure that it's on record that we know that we have a 4.96% increase in premiums that we have to find somewhere in the existing budget.
Right. Okay. So, any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then the motion is approved, the motion carries. Item D has to do with the gasoline, diesel, and heating oil contract. So Mr. Melvin's gonna continue.
Yes, Madam Chair, conducted a bid proposal this spring in May, the end of the month, and we evaluated, looked at it, and Parker Oil would be able to provide all of the commodities and give us the best value overall to work with them continuously. And we have been with Parker for quite some time. They're a local company. Many of their employees have students and grandchildren that are in the division, and have been a very good partner for us. There is no increase in their margins from previous years that we've worked with them. Everything has stayed the same. And it's been the same since we first bid and worked with them in 2019.
Any other questions from Mr. Melby concerning the gasoline, diesel, heating oil?
Mr. Melvin, what is number 2 oil, is that?
Diesel oil.
We have diesel oil here, so.
Has gasoline, diesel, and it says number 2 oil. She said
Number 2 oil is the heating fuel then.
Any other questions from Mr. Melvin?
Make a motion that we approve the rates from Parker Oil.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Rogers for the second, Ms. Lane?
Yes.
The second by Ms. Lane to approve, the renewal with, Parker Oil. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
That has been approved. The next item will be the federal programs for fiscal year 24-25. Dr. Shannon?
Yeah, Ms. Kelly Liz coming forward to talk about the federal programs. I will say the Title I Part A covers improving basic programs. Title II Part A supporting effective construction. Title III is English language acquisition, and Title IV is student support and academic enrichment. And then Ms. Gillette will talk to you specifically about how we utilize those funds.
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Goodwin, Dr. Shannon, board members, and all present. It's a pleasure to be here with you tonight. We have been told that we may be getting a little bit more than we did last year with the federal programs title, but we were asked to start with level funding. And so that amount was $759,005.82. In Title I Part A, you can see it's $610,933.99, and we were able to use this money as same as we did last year, and we're able to fund a reading specialist and a paraprofessional for pre-K at Capron, a reading specialist at Meharon, a reading specialist at Nottoway, 2 reading specialists and a paraprofessional for pre-K at Riverdale Elementary School. Title II Part A, $97,618.57. In the past, we were able to use this funding to help reduce class size, but the new guidelines are not allowing us to do that anymore. So we were looking at having a part-time instructional coach for reading and possibly math. These are for students that are in need of greatest need at each school that this person could help. They could be at one school or they could share with 2 schools where needed. This is also for materials and supplies for staff development. Title III Part A, $2,596.86. This is for English language learners and immigrant students. It is a small amount, but we use every bit of it. Title IV Part A, $47,859.40. We're looking at a part-time reading tutor. As you know, we have the big initiative from the state, Virginia Literacy Act, that will take place at all of our elementary schools, and it will go into our middle schools the following year. And this would help us getting our students online. So all of our reading specialists, our classroom teachers, our principals, this reading teacher, the tutor would be versed in the science of reading and be able to assist as well. Excited to say that the Department of Justice, we've gotten the grant again for security officer at Riverdale Elementary and at Nottoway Elementary. So they're both renewed for this coming up school year. $100,000. I wanted to talk a little bit about the summer literacy programs. We're excited that we're able to send home with students, all students in K through 2, the first little readers. They'll get these set of books that'll go home with them the last day of school. And then 3, 4, and 5 will get the scholastic fiction, nonfiction packs. If a student is absent that day, or the last day of school, we'll arrange for it to be delivered to their house. We did that last year and it worked really well. I did want to share this. We had an event for Bounce into Kindergarten. This was held at Riverdale Elementary on May 23rd, and it took all of the pre-K students and our pre-K special ed students came together going into kindergarten, and they were able to meet other families, meet the teachers, meet the principals. They were provided learning kits and materials for summer learning, and a lot of a guide for parent implementation and interaction. And I want to share a lot of pictures with you. You'll be able to see. They enjoyed activities such as a bounce house, popcorn, face painting, fine and gross motor obstacle courses, dinner with door prizes, and parents were given the opportunity to visit the ODU Mobile Health Clinic to receive free school physicals and learn about immunizations and health resources. And we had over 200 people at this event. Huge success. And I know you see it on there, but I just want to share some of the pictures so you can get an idea of how much engagement we had and how much fun the kids had, and all having this community event. And there's a picture of the literacy kits I mentioned that went to all of our pre-K students and special ed pre-K students. And you can see what was inside.
The only action we need to take then will be on the Title I, Part A, Title II, Part A, Title III, Part A, and Title IV, Part A. And Ms. Gillette explained what those funds, how much the funding is, what those funds will be used for. But we do need to take action on the Title I program.
I move that we accept the Title I programs, cost paid.
We have a motion by Ms. Lane,
Second.
a second by Mr. Smith to approve the Title I projects that Ms. Gillette just outlined. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Just don't put your fingers in red.
Did we need to take action on those grants? We do. Okay, Ms. Gillette also mentioned the grant for the school security officers, and that would be a security officer at Riverdale, a security officer at Nottaway. So both were renewed for 24, 25, but we do need a motion to approve. There was a motion by Mr. Scott.
Second.
A second by Mr. Rogers. Any discussion on the motion?
Dr. Goodwin, I have a question. The grant amount that was offered by the state was $250,000. Do we know why we were not awarded the entire $250,000? Like, do they give us that information when they give us a grant award? Do they tell us any particular reasons for?
Ms. Gillette, do you know why we got the 100,000 instead of the 250,000?
I just wasn't sure if the state ever provided us with information about why we weren't given the entire amount.
They renewed the 2 resource officers that we had. That's what we granted.
So when we filled out the grant, do you know if we asked for the entire $250,000 allotment that we were eligible for?
Well, I think part of it has to do with the number of officers we wanted. We did not want a security officer in every school, so I think that probably has something to do with the number of officers requested, but I don't know that.
Gotcha.
My
Yeah,
thinking.
so we can only ask for the 50,000 for each officer.
Okay, so we only asked for the 100,000 because that was, we just
Because we
needed
wanted
those two.
two.
Okay, thank you.
I think. So we did have a motion and a second. Any further unreadiness? So then all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? And the ayes have it. Any abstentions? The ayes have it. So we're down to the Children's Center, Dr. Shannon.
Yes, I recommend that we continue our lease agreement with the Portland Elementary School, well, of Portland Elementary School with the Children's Center. And the amount that they pay is $1, and they are responsible for, all utilities, repairs, insurance, and the like.
I make a motion to approve.
I have a motion by Ms. Bond. A second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion on the motion?
What's currently there?
Pardon?
Currently there.
The Children's Center, they do Head Start and Early Head Start.
Been using for the last 12, 15 years.
Any other unreadiness? So we do have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? So then we have approved that lease with the Children's Center for the Portland Elementary School building. The next item is the Southside Virginia Regional Technology Consortium Summer STEM Camp. Dr. Shannon.
Yes, ma'am. I could talk about this, but I'm going to let Mr. Hatch talk about it since we're a founding member of the Southside Virginia Regional Technology Consortium. Is he here? All right, here.
There's a little bit of delay when you gotta start your own presentation today.
I'm sorry.
You gotta do a better job of technology.
Thank you so much. I don't think it's any secret at all that this school division has prioritized computer science as one of our initiatives. I've given several presentations to the board over the years about our computer science education initiatives. We do Code of the Future, et cetera, et cetera. So once the grant came along, it kind of sparked Dr. Shannon's interest, and she asked Ms. Bogue and I if we would look into it. And so we indicated that we would like to participate with Longwood in their Advancing Computer Science and Education grant that they were doing. This grant is going to pay for several computer science summer camps around the region, not just in Southampton, but in a lot of the Region 8, I believe it is, schools. Longwood is also hosting some on their campus that school divisions who are closer to Longwood's campus can go and send their children through the day, but being the distance that we are away, they have given us the resources to run this camp here locally during our summer school. And so, as you can see from the slides, it is an initiative with Longwood. We're running 2 camps. There's a camp, we're calling it the middle school camp, but it's for rising 6th and 7th graders. And then there's what we're calling the elementary camp, which is a camp for rising 4th and 5th graders. Both camps are going to be at Riverdale Elementary School. There are 2 teachers per camp, so there's 2 teachers in the room with the students at all times, and they recommend that we have about 12 to 16 students per camp, and we're just going to go the regular summer school length of the day. They'll ride our buses. They are providing all of the materials for free. The robots that we are going to use, everything except for the devices, which of course for us is no problem. Every student has a device already. They are funding the stipends for the teachers to do the grant, and also allocating $1,400 for the division to help pay for operational costs, specifically help with transportation, since our students will ride the buses, and other operational costs. I think I went through that, rising 6th to 7th graders and rising 4th to 5th graders. As you can see, it is literally just our summer school dates. We wanted to do that to make it easy to get the kids there. And with your approval tonight, we will send out the flyers, which look like this, starting tomorrow, so that kids can start registering for the camps. We're very excited to have this. Stephanie Clayton from Longwood, Dr. Stephanie Clayton has come down and met with Ms. Bogue and I last week. and brought boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff, which we have stored over in my building. Robots, spheros, Lego spikes, all the materials for that, and the curriculum to go along with that. And most of that stuff we get to keep at the end of the program. And these are just blow ups of what they will see at the bottom. And so, are there any questions? We're just really excited about this.
What's the criteria? Just anyone that go out?
Yeah, it is any child in that grade can apply.
And what's your capacity? How many people accommodate?
Again, it's 12 to 16 per camp, and we're running 2 camps. So we'd be able to do 12 to 16 quote unquote middle schoolers, although they're rising to middle school, and then 12 to 16 elementary students.
I guess the question is, suppose you get more students, more applicants than you have.
We will have to limit it, and we're going to have criteria. The principal's going to work with us.
I think that was your question, wasn't it?
Is that what?
Yeah, how, you got
Yeah, I hope we do.
100 students to apply,
completely
you
full.
only take 16. Yeah.
And that's what they're funding. Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Ash? What would be some of the criteria?
Some of the criteria that we're going to use will be whether they were interested in the coding program that we put forward, that we do as part of the regular curriculum, whether they have good disciplinary records or not. If we talked about it, and we don't really want to just say it's our high flyers. We really want, because our coding program is not just our high flyers. We have made it very, I guess the word I'm looking for, intentional, that our coding program is for all students, not just the gifted students.
Any other questions for Mr. Ash?
I think it's a wonderful opportunity. I'm glad to see us involved in it. You know, to have our kids excited doing this during the summer. Wonderful. Thanks.
You said you were gonna work with the principals on the exact specifications. Can we make sure that somewhere that's in writing, just in case, not necessarily for us, but just, so a parent comes back and says, why wasn't my child, that it's in writing somewhere that
Yeah,
these
it'll-
requirements and eligibility. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Any other questions for Mr. Hatch? And do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Bunn.
Second.
A second by Ms. Lane. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd also like to thank Ms. Bogue, who has done a lot of work with this program.
This looks exciting. The next item is the use of facilities request, Dr. Shannon.
Yes, we have
Okay.
Miss Angela Artis, who's with Franklin Tri-County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. And she is requesting the use of Southampton High School on September the 9th, 2024, from 2:30 p.m. until 9:30 p.m. And the purpose of this is for a concert with the African Children's Choir. She's asking to also have access to the band room for the choir to, dress and undress prior to the event. And she feels that since it's a community service event, that, they won't charge anyone for the event. And the price for them utilizing the facility is, if they were not a charitable organization, it would be $1,015, but since they are, it would be $101. And then the next item is from Ms. Janet M. Joyner, and she represents the Franklin Southampton County Fair. And she's requesting permission to utilize Southampton High School as well, but she'd like to utilize the high school on August the 3rd and the 4th, which is a Saturday and a Sunday, Saturday from 9 until 4, and Sunday from 11 until 5 for the Queen's Scholarship Pageant. Both entities do have insurance, and she would like to also utilize the health hall and the band hall for interviews and dressing room. Now, both entities also requested a fee waiver, but the fee request is $1,885 if they are not a nonprofit organization, or $188.50 if they are.
So we have two facilities on use request, and both are nonprofit organizations that would pay the reduced fee. We have a motion to approve these requests.
Yes, I'd like to move that we accept the use of facilities for Franklin Tri-County Economic Chapter Delta Central Fed and the use of facilities for Franklin County, Southampton County Fed.
Moved by Ms. Lane. Second by Mr. Scott. Any discussion on the motion? But we're not even entertaining the waiver. But we're doing the reduced fee. Any other discussion on the motion? So all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. So we're down to informational items. Dr. Shannon?
Yes, Ms. Gillette is on her way back to the podium because she's also our director of curriculum and instruction.
Yes, I'm back. For the instructional report, I do want to share with you some topics. The Virginia Literacy Act updates. I know we keep talking about this, but it will be put in place next year. And Southampton is ahead of the game when it comes to the Virginia Literacy Act. One of the biggest things we did the pilot for the BOWS, which takes place of the PALS from the UVA, which is partnering with the VDOE. There are schools right now that will do BOWS and start the BLA at the same time next year, and they have never done it before, and they don't know what to expect. And we're really ahead with that. We're ahead of the fact that we have a division team, we have a countywide team put together, so we already know where we're going and things that need to be done. We're going to look up a little bit at summer school. I want to share some science of reading we're doing with that. I want to share something about Title III Part A, and also look at Code to the Future showcase. For our updates for the Virginia Literacy Act, we have almost finished our literacy plan. It's very close to being complete. Most of what we're waiting on is complete guidance from the VDOE. We have ordered de-implementation boxes for our schools. And what that means is the Virginia Literacy Act is no longer allowing us to use materials that they have not said were scientific-based, research-based. And so those materials need to be taken out of the classroom. They include the old reading series that we had before, the Journey series. It includes some of the work and puzzles and things like that that teachers have that need to come out of the classroom. They will be taken out and boxed up and stored at the moment at First Start. Well, the old First Start, the old Tornado building. The student reading plan guidance has been released by the VDOE. We've already started working on what that will look like. It's going to go along with an IEP where you find that online. That's on the next slide. We also have the June 27th principal training. That will include our middle school principals. Supplemental intervention program rubrics have been released by the VDOE as well, which helps us know this is where we start, go next, go next. It's a step-by-step guide. So, as you can see here, with the exception of Tier 2, which would be our reading specialist, all of the programs have been selected for the 24-25 school year, and we were lucky, we're smart. We had already had people in Plymouth and Harcourt into reading, already had Haggerty. We had already started 95%, that was another thing. We did that with K1 last year, and that was right where we needed to be, and we're adding second grade this year. We already have IXL Learning, Learning A to Z with RAS Plus, UFly, and also Bridging the Gap with intervention lessons. With our special populations, with special ed, they'll be using Spire and Lexia. And Spire is specialized programs, individualized reading excellence. We're waiting for the release of teacher training modules. I know I shared that with you last time, We had a list of all the modules and how much time they thought it would take. They have not released that yet. We're still waiting. They have requested that we fill out a form of interest to use the Virginia IEP, what I mentioned earlier, about the student reading plans. And everything will be right there in one area. And I've already spoken to special ed, and there is a way that teachers can be accessed. They can access the information as well. The reading specialists met. They met last week, and they also discussed resources to support that core instructional program, the Hootlemouth and Harcourt. Also, report cards and grading, because some of that will need to be changed on the report cards. New lesson plan format, intervention program, and assessment decision-making flowchart. And that again goes, if you do this assessment and they don't do as well, you move to this next step. So again, it's a step-by-step chart. For summer school, the staff has been selected, but of course I will go before your approval tonight. The VDOE has requested, I'm sorry, I jumped right back at the top. All grades will use the iExcel for a diagnostic to begin summer school and to end. So we'll be able to look at that data, all the teachers will get the data from the iExcel in reading and math. They'll be able to use that to plan their instruction. And then at the end of summer school, they will take the end of the iExcel diagnostic and we'll be able to see the growth that students have made with their time at summer school. We went ahead and ordered some summer school supplies, the general basic materials. They've already been delivered to central office, so we'll have them day one. On the teacher work day, before summer school starts, if there are specific materials that need to be ordered, we'll go ahead and take care of that. We try to do it through Quill, so it's there very quickly. So hopefully that will be there within the first day or two. So our kindergarten through grade 2, they are going to get Soaring into Summer Success reading kits that will have everything they need that deals with the science of reading. We're excited about that. Grades 3 through 8 will use the Lexia intervention, and middle school and high school will use Edgenuity. I'm excited about this Title III monitoring. It occurred on February 8th of this couple months ago. It was for the English language students. We were monitored from the VDOE, and they came and we went through procedures, entry procedures, WIDA assessments, family communications and engagement, SOLs, student by student, and we received a notice from the state saying that they were pleased to tell us that the program and activities monitored met all program requirements, and thank you for your continued efforts. So we're really excited about that. And then as Bill was talking about how excited we are about computer science, the June coding cycle is now with grades K through 2. You know, usually during the year, we have all grades for elementary and middle, but with SOL testing, we just do grades K through 2 in the spring. So Scratch Junior is used for grades K1 and regular Scratch for projects in grades 2. The June showcase is being put together right now to be presented on each school's individual website. So you'll be able to go on the website, click the projects, and work through them just like the students have coded them. And of course, we thank our partners at Code to the Future for their support. And then we just wanted to share a couple. This is just a few that have come in. The top and the bottom, the top left and the bottom are Scratch Junior, and then regular Scratch with 2nd grade is on the right-hand side. And that is your June instruction report. Do you have any questions?
Questions, Mr. Leff?
I do have one just related to the storage of the materials we're going to pull out of the classroom. Are we storing them for procurement rules? Are we storing them because we think we may be able to use them again in the future? I'm trying to avoid
I'll tell you, we didn't want to throw it away, you know, because possibly some students could use it. And Dr. Shannon has mentioned this in the past about seeing if we could resell the books. And so there was a company in Franklin that did just that. Well, of course, they closed last year, so we're not able to do that. So we are currently looking at possibilities to be able to sell, because we really don't have any use for them unless we gave them out to students, but again, we don't give out to students that have the wrong information for the science of reading in there. And so I hate to just throw them out. I guess it's a pack rat in me. So right now we're just looking at storing them and possibly being able to sell them out to somebody else.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I absolutely applaud you all for the amount of work that you've gone through to make sure that the entire district will have the same continuity, and as well that they will be strategic and explicit. Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So we're down to the maintenance and transportation report, Dr. Shannon.
Yes, Mr. Miller is on his way to give the maintenance and transportation report. Good news for some of our families, so.
Madam Chair, Dr. Shannon, just to go quick through here. All right, starting off in food services, this summer, all of our students are eligible again for free meals each day. The school is in session. This covers not just the students that we are serving in summer school, but also any student that resides within Southampton County. Once we have all of our locations set, times set, we'll be sending out information, press releases on Facebook through Remind, so that parents will know when they're able to bring their child to the school. Child comes in, gets a free meal, sits down and eats it, and they can go on. Breakfast and lunch for all students within the division. We did find out or get word this past week that we will be doing another round of the PEBT cards over the summer, once again to ensure that all students have access to nutritious foods through the Department of Social Services. So they will be issuing those sometime in July is when they are looking at that coming. It's about $40 per student, so they get June, July, and August. So each student will be receiving those funds, like I said, about mid-July. Maintenance operations, we're getting ready for graduation this Saturday, both inside and out. The grounds are getting done, making sure that everything in the building is set up right, working with Dr. White to ensure that it smoothly, we're able to come in and get out. So making sure that all of those things work well together. We're gearing up for our summer maintenance programs. Flooring, painting, HVAC, and grounds work is all being scheduled and finalized right now. Working with a variety of different vendors, but we're going to have, it'll be a busy summer, that's for sure. Mr. Bauer texted me, he said he was going to be here about 8:40 as they got out of the other meeting. So he'll be able to give an update here shortly when he arrives. I want to take an opportunity to say thank you to 3 of our gentlemen that are retiring out of the maintenance department, Richard Davis, Milton Clodd, and not yet, Roger Artis. Laverne and I each got a leg, we're just kind of holding on to him. So he's not going anywhere just yet. Didn't get a chance to really say it the other night, but those guys, I need them to write a book before they leave, because it's probably about 90 years, close to 90 years worth of experience that those 3 have within the division, of knowing where the nooks and crannies are, knowing where to look for a breaker, those little things. Otherwise, I can't get those guys. I'm all over the place trying to figure out where I'm going. So definitely gonna miss those guys going forward. Student transportation, as soon as the student rosters are finalized, I was bugging Ms. Gillette about this last night, and but once we get those rosters finalized, the routes will be completed. We'll get those published. We are going to have 4 new school buses should arrive sometime after the 1st of July. So these are ones that took right at a year for production. Dealing with, they had a labor strike, they had an iron shortage. It was a whole conundrum of things put together that caused this delay. But it'll be very nice, 4 air-conditioned buses coming in after the 1st of July. And one more that's moving on, Kenny Darden, our garage manager, he is taking his time and taking his talents down to Boykins. grasp. So we're gonna miss Kenny as well. You know, again, another just wealth of knowledge and understanding of things in the division, and a fantastic man as well. So, ready for another graduation. Ready to see, you know, a lot of these kids I had at Riverdale, and I was principal my first year, they're graduating. Kind of freaking me out a little bit. See how these guys are this tall. But excited to see them walk on Saturday. So we'll be ready for that, and then you'll have 2 pages worth of work orders that you guys can peruse at your own convenience. Any questions?
Did you say that each student is going to receive that EBT card?
Yes, ma'am. Because of our CEP status with the state, where we are a community eligibility provision county, all of our students get free and reduced during the year, so they automatically qualify for the PEBT distribution this summer.
He says social services distributes.
That's the conduit. Goes through them, where the parents have been issued cards in the past, and I kind of really started at the summer of 2020, when people were mailed those cards, and they would refresh them from time to time. When that more information comes out, we'll send it out, because I'm sure some folks, they don't know where that card is. They don't use it on a regular basis. It kind of got put in that drawer, and who knows where it's at now. So we'll put the information out so they're able to reach out to DSS and get a replacement card and be able to utilize those funds for their students.
Okay. That's exciting news.
Absolutely.
Any other questions of Mr. Melvin? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So we are down to some first reads. Dr. Shannon, you want to give us background information about the personal communication device pouches? What about each one of these? The remediation, promotion, retention policy.
Sure. So when looking at the device pouch policy, one of the reasons that we are interested in this pouch is because the cell phones have really just become a distraction in the classrooms now. Initially, I was an advocate of cell phones, but I was only an advocate of cell phones because at the time we were not a one-to-one school division. This was pre-COVID, and during that time, students were able to utilize their personal cell phones for instructional purposes. But after COVID and our technology department just working so hard to ensure that every student has a device in their hand, we're now officially one-to-one. Every kid in our division has access to a device. And because these kids now have access to those devices, they no longer need to have access to the cell phones. The cell phones have really just become a huge distraction, and teachers are spending a significant amount of time, redirecting students who are on the cell phones, taking pictures, video, just whatever, doing things that they should not be doing in the classroom during instructional time. So what I'm advocating for is the use of these pouches. The pouch is for all devices, and devices are defined as smartwatches, the wireless headphones, cell phones, any of that. And there's no reason really for an exception because they have a one-to-one our device that's school issued. So again, there's no reason for them to utilize their cell phone at all. If a parent needs to reach a child during the day, they'll do what they used to do, which is call the office. And when they call the office, we'll go and get the child. Now, we will not have possession of the child's cell phone. The child won't be in possession of their own cell phone. So once they, put their phone in the pouch, it's a magnetic closure, and they're not able to use the phone during the day. But then at the end of the day, once the magnet is, demagnetized, it'll open the pouch so the kids are able to use the phones. If the children forget the pouch, because we're going to issue them their pouches. So if they forget their pouches or they leave them at home or what have you, we do have loan pouches that will be available if the board approves this policy and the use of us having the pouches. Now, I will say that some school divisions primarily use this just for middle school and high school and not elementary school. And we're kind of, talking about whether or not the elementary students need to put their phones away, or if we just strictly need to do this for middle school and high again, it's a first read, you know, so we can change it. But yes.
Any questions for Dr. Shannon about this personal communication device pouch policy? You got the policies for first read, but if you have questions, now might be a good time to ask, and then we can,
Dr. Shannon, cost for pouches and the locking and locking magnet thing.
So, the gentleman I think he's actually going to try to come to our next board meeting.
Okay.
So that you all can get a demonstration and we'll talk about costs at that particular time. So tonight is, you know, just a first read as far as the policy is concerned. I do have a little brochure here, but we're trying to get him to come, and he just had another obligation tonight, but hopefully he can make the next meeting, and you guys can see everything and then hear directly from him about the cost.
but roughly, you have no ideas about the cost?
I can tell you what other people have paid.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe about, I don't know, $30,000 to $40,000.
For each child to have a pouch.
Yes, but that's only for middle and high school, that amount would be for middle and high school. We don't have an amount that includes elementary school right now, and so that's why initially I think that we may start with middle and high school because of the cost. But we'll see, because the division is paying for it, it's not like the, you know, the students are paying for it. And I don't have any policy that the students will have to, you know, pay anything at this time. But again, it's a first read, so if it's something that you all would like to modify, you know, it's something.
I'd like to ask a couple of questions. This, cell phone pouch is being.
We can't hear you, Ms. Lane.
This cell phone pouch is being currently used at my school that I'm working part-time, and it's a pilot program there. It's only at the middle school level. But I see that you're letting children take the pouch home. Can we revisit that? Because you're not gonna get that thing back.
We can, sure.
And another thing, during the course of the day, my school has had the experience that they're carrying the pouch around with them all day. They're getting it dirty. It's a cloth pouch. It's not made out of rubber or anything like that. It's cloth. That they should secure it somewhere at the beginning of the school and pick it up in the afternoon. The damage issue. The very first week, we had one young lady open it. It's a way that you can't open it, but your consequences need to be a little bit more than what they are now. About breaking it, to try to get in and use it. Everything else seems okay, it's just that, those little things, kind of, because I'm experiencing it now, I know what you're gonna try to go through.
Okay. What grade level do you say?
Sixth grade, it's at sixth grade right now.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments about the policy? Like I said, this is the first read, we'll come back to it next month, but any other comments,
Could we
questions?
look at, like Ms. Lane was saying about having broken it or something like that, adding something into the policy, you know, that will provide like the first one, but if the student damages it, then they would be responsible for paying X amount, something like that. And I understand what Ms. Lane is talking about with it getting dirty and that kind of thing, but I think we open ourselves up to a huge issue if we have them all somewhere. You know, with somebody being able to say, well, I didn't get my own back, somebody else took my item.
There's a number on it. You're number 13, that's your number.
True, but then that requires whoever is, I mean, that requires the staff then to be handing them back out, and I don't know what the implications for that at the school would be.
What's your population at the middle school?
So I guess the question is, have Dr. Shannon look at whether or not to keep the pouches with the student all day or to have a central location to store the pouches?
Currently, we only have 300 kids. What's your population at middle school?
About 600, so double that.
And I understand,
8 at the high school.
and I understand, Dr. Dr. Tyndall's concerned, that if you gotta have somebody distributing them at the end of the day, they may have page number 13, but only give them a ticket form that says, here's your,
They
like,
get a
picking up
different
your
number
value card.
they get a different number every day.
I'm
How
saying,
is
then
that
how do you know for
documented?
sure the student we're handing that back to, anybody can say I had number 13 unless we then have a system of, we're assigning 13 to this child, we know at the end of the day we get it back to the same.
Right, which also means staff.
It's very labor intensive.
We're already, I mean, I know that we've gotten really good at coming in through the weapons detectors and all of that kind of stuff, but now you're adding an extra step with extra staff having to do that coming in and out. I think we need to look at how that's going to impact how long it takes to get in and out of the buildings for arrival and dismissal, and the quickest way to do that.
And the labor cost associated with, if we're issuing them and picking them back up at the end of the day, then over the course of time, sure, we may have something get damaged, but is that cost gonna outweigh what it would cost to have staff involved in distribution?
Any additional comments about the departures? Okay, then we'll move on to the remediation, promotion, and retention policy.
So, the purpose of the remediation, promotion, and retention policy is to kind of add teeth to some of the existing policies that we already had. You know, we had, a lot of what we're doing now is optional. So, you know, for child fails, and SOL, they are required to have some form of remediation, but oftentimes, you know, they aren't participating in before school or after school or Saturday school. You know, many times the students who show up for those programs are the students who really don't need the assistance. So what we're trying to do, again, is just add teeth. And you asked for, you know, just kind of background information. So what we want to do is just ensure that our students receive adequate, you know, remediation or enrichment or what have you before they retake an SOL assessment. We don't want kids just, you know, people just heard retaking those SOLs and not having been adequately prepared. Nor do we want, you know, parents to just keep them at home when they really could come to before school or after school if they need to come and receive that remediation. So, you know, that's what we are concerned about. And then as far as promotion and retention, so we've talked about, and this is probably what we may change some of this, because we talked about whether or not a child can be retained if they do not pass the SOLs, or if we can give them an incomplete, and then they go on, you know, to the next grade, but they're not receiving the full letter grade or what have you. So what we are advocating for is that the students who are in danger of not moving forward, that they are required to participate again in summer school or Saturday school or some form of remediation in order to move forward. You know, and it not just be, you know, optional. Yeah. And then, that's it for that one.
Any comments or questions about the first read of the the remediation, promotion, retention policy? I guess that was on the first read.
I just appreciate Dr. Shannon doing this for children, because there's a policy that you fail reading and English, reading and math, you're instantly retained. But if you go to summer school and meet that requirement, and you can go on to the next level, I appreciate you putting that in place.
And the third policy was the attendance and makeup work policy.
Yes, and again, this particular policy is a first read, but we're trying to you know, add more teeth to our attendance policy. And so what we're trying to do now is, if a student misses, or we recommended that if a student misses a certain number of days, that child not be able to be promoted. Right now, you know, some of the students can be promoted, but we want to ensure that it's a requirement that they not be promoted and that they have to participate in attendance recovery. Now, this year we had the flexible instruction, through VDOE, and through flexible instruction, we did have some students to participate in Saturday school, we did have some to participate in after school, and those students did recoup, some attendance days, but, it really wasn't required. We wanna try to require some of these things so that, it will increase the number of students who, participate, or it will deter the number of students who are just missing school to miss school. We understand if you have a health condition or something like that, but, if you're just at home for 30 days or whatever, just to be there, we really wanna try to work through that with the family. Also, it talks about students who miss 15 consecutive days being unenrolled, but we also will have a procedure for re-enrollment of that particular student if that student wants to return to school and be a part of the attendance recovery program.
Right now, do we have a policy that says, once you've missed X number of days, then we recommend the, earning back days?
So what we do is, they call it the seat time.
Right.
Yeah, so right now we do, seat time. But still, I just feel like we need something definitely a little bit more defined.
Right.
But yes, so they have to earn back seat time, but even with them earning back seat time, and this is one of the things that I appreciated about the flexible instruction policy that the State Department, implemented, is that they require that they have a teacher providing instruction. In the past, what I have seen in some divisions with seat time is anybody, they literally would just stay after school, and were not receiving instruction. So it's not like the instructional time was being replaced. It was just their body was there because of time, but nothing of substance was occurring during that time.
Right.
But what we want to do is ensure that if they miss a certain number of days, that they can only recover that attendance if they receive quality instruction, and not seat time where you just show up and you're just there and anyone, it's basically you're babysitting, yeah.
So can we look at, this is the last page, in the last page of it where it talks about, the threshold for chronic absenteeism, can whoever needs to work on it kind of work out a, like a maximum number, like right now we send out 3-day letters and 5-day letters when the students are absent, just to kind of give it a few more teeth instead of, because it reads like once you reach that threshold, then we're asking you to do this, and you come up, or you all come up with a, middle school and high school once you miss 3 days or 5 days.
So kind of graduated so that they can see.
Right,
Okay,
right, so
got it.
that the parents aren't looking at it going, oh, well, my child only missed 17 days, and, we want them to
Yeah, it's a little bit.
not hit that 18th day
Yeah.
or whatever, yeah.
Okay. And we do the same with the 3-day, 5 days, but you're right, we'll add something. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments about the attendance and makeup work policy first reading? Well, it'll come back to us next month for action. So the next item, Dr. Shannon, is high school graduation.
We are excited that, our high school graduation will be this Saturday, and it will be indoors in the, gymnasium at 10:00 a.m.
And we should go on to student teacher attendance and student enrollment.
Yes. So, student enrollment, we currently have, 2,437 students enrolled, and the winner of our student attendance award is Meharry Elementary School with 98.22% enrollment. And the winner of our teacher attendance award is Riverdale with 90.8%. So congratulations.
So you do have calendars and newsletters included with your board, documents, so please read those and attend events as your schedule will, permit. But now I think we are back to hearing an update about the 2 building projects we have going on. Thank you for rushing over here. Broadway. Right.
It's all good. It's good when you have folks that are close together, so we could spend some quality time with a bunch of folks tonight. So, good evening. Thank you, Board Chair, Dr. Shannon, and the rest of the board. And, thank you for being patient. I will try to be brief tonight, but very comprehensive. So we have 2 projects. One is the Parent in the Community Center, and so we've had an interesting month since we talked last. So has anybody actually been through the building in the past? Anyone? No one? So the building is a little mature in age, and so over time we've had some roof failure, which has caused a little bit of collapse with some of the roof joists. But also what's happened is the floor itself has collapsed. So if you remember some of the images is that we have on the side facing the street, we have 3 steps going up, and then on the back side we actually have 6 steps going up, because the grade goes slower or in elevation as you're going back. What's important is that those steps, the floor is wood, and there is actually floor joists that carry the floor load itself. So you're actually walking on wood. So what's happened is that when I believe we first looked at it, there was a handful of areas that were collapsed. There's actually a little bit more collapse that has happened on the floor itself. Now we had planned on removing the roof joists and the floor and doing a new floor, and that was part of the construction plan. Well, as we got more into it, the engineers began to share, they're like, well, Josh, when you have a crawl space, if we have a crawl space in their house, so when you have a crawl space, is that not only do you need to ventilate that, but also you need to encapsulate it, which was not part of my budget. So I said, okay, so we have to replace the floor anyway. Is that really the best direction I want to go in? So we started to map out over the last couple of weeks of what could we do to actually make this better. So we said, why are we making this harder than it has to be? Could we actually remove the existing floor and put a stone base on and pour a concrete floor on there? And what that does is 2 things. It gets rid of the crawl space, and we're already gonna put insulation and gypsum wall board on the exterior walls. So that was already part of the plan. But if we pour a concrete floor, it does 2 things for us. One is it gets rid of the crawl space, and number 2 is that it actually solves some of our accessibility problems. Because again, we want to make the building accessible. So if we drop it down from 21 inches down to 7 inches, now we have a small little ramp going up. We won't have that big ramp that we presented previously. So at the last presentation, we were about $278,000 over budget. Now we're closer to about $100,000. So we actually made improvements by thinking outside of the box of being creative on our construction. So that's some bad news and some good news. So we are now progressing with that concept. The other piece is that the building exterior is all brick. So when buildings used to be done, they were done brick, but over time they said, hey, brick is really not the most awesome structure, and what we want to block or some type of structure that goes along with that. So we had our structural engineer come look at it, and he in fact has endorsed that we can reuse the existing structural walls without putting additional structure in. So that's part of how we've saved some additional money. So we are very much in progress. Our plan was hoping that we were going to be out in the beginning of this month, going to be closer to the end of this month, and we're going to be able to share the drawings with the contractor. So while it is a little bit of a delay, we think that the positive in the cost standpoint, the accessibility standpoint, and constructability standpoint is going to be worth the wait on that piece. So any questions on that building itself before we talk about the field house here at the high school?
Any questions about the Parent Resource Center building?
Okay, so now the Student Education Center here at this building. So if you remember last time we presented 2 different options. The first option was just a single gable roof. It was great, but not super awesome. You know, when you looked at the space, it didn't do a couple things. One is it didn't address the height, to be able to use it for multi-purpose space, the square footage, and it was still a little bit over budget. It was about $500,000 over what our budget was. And then we presented a second option, which was way more awesome, let's be honest. it was way awesome. So it got us the height to be able to play volleyball and basketball after hours, to engage in more community groups. It also had the alternate for the weight room, and then we still have all of your concessions and toilet room spaces. And then if you remember, we also proposed moving it, from adjacent to the baseball, softball, over to this, next to the tennis courts. So some really great news is that we were able to go and geotech and survey the space next to the tennis courts, and the soil is great. That means we could just do a simple footing. We don't need to do any additional course, which again is a cost benefit. So we are looking to do the weight room as an alternate. I think we talked about that last time, is saying, hey, we're going to ask the contractor for a separate number. So construction-wise, we're trying to figure out what can we do. So if we do the weight room as a bid alternate, that will save about $300,000. It takes us from $1 million over to about $700,000 over. So now the next challenge is, what can we do to improve that even closer, get us closer to our budget number? So what we're working to do is to have the high volume space, again, that community center space that has, that we do volleyball and basketball, and to create that volume of 25 feet to the underside of structure. What we're supposed to do that is going to be the metal building. And then the smaller height space, which is where the bathrooms and the concessions and all those pieces are, is we're supposed to do that as a stick-built construction. And we think that's where we're going to save another $150,000 to $200,000 by not doing that pieces of metal building. It just adds additional challenges to that. So right now we're still about $500,000 over, but we did add like 3,000 square feet to the building, so I'm still in height. So we're still trying to figure that out. Our plan is to go out to bid in August, and right now we're still on track to do that. I just need to be more creative on what we can do to save more money to get us there. So they're both very close. The plan I said for the student engagement, or the student education center here, as it was to go out in August. Right now we still have that very much on track. So any questions on that piece?
I think our big concern was just making it fit our budget, and you're working on that.
Yes, ma'am, we are trying. So next month, we'll be here every month from now until the time that we go out. Next month, we'll have some really nice new pictures and new cost estimates to be able to share with the group, so that we can be rest assured that what we're giving you exactly what you asked for.
Any questions, comments?
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you next month.
Thank you. Thank you for rushing over.
Safe travels.
So, pursuant to section 2.2-371181 and 2 of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, the board, upon a motion and a second, will convene in a closed session to consider the following: appointment of personnel matter for Cape Elementary School, resignation of personnel, retirement of personnel, intra-district applications, non-resident applications, administrative discipline review reports, summer school staff, a stipend for key communicators, a stipend for a swimming coach, retention incentives for contracted employees. So and after the closed session, the board will return to this area to take any necessary action on the matters discussed in closed session. So do we have a motion to convene in a closed session? I have a motion by Mr. Smith, a second by Ms. Lane. All in favor, please say aye.